Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Of course, it's our focus conversation segment on Rise and Shine this Wednesday morning. And we have the singular honor of being joined by Senator Shehu Sani, of course, Senator of the 8th Assembly, who represented Kaduna Central. It's a really, really good day to have a conversation with one of the very vocal leaders that we've had in the history of Nigeria, who continues to hold Nigeria and Nigerians, including our leaders, very accountable for what they're doing in governance. Of course, he himself is a strong party member of the People's Democratic Party, as it were, a strong activist and advocate of good governance. Good morning, Senator. Good to have you on Rise and Shine this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me in your program.
May Manuel here on set, who will be speaking to you.
Good morning, distinguished Senator. Good to have you on set this morning.
Good morning, and thank you for having me too.
All right. So we'll just delve into the conversations. A lot is happening, and there's a lot we can talk to you about, Senator. But we'll go, right to the top, the one that's on the serving the most. Recently, you had spoken about the fact that the running cost for you and your colleagues in the 8th Assembly amounted to about 13 million naira. And we've also found out that this is not the first time that you are asserting to it. About 5-6 years ago, you had actually said the same thing, and it brought you the same amount of reaction that it is bringing you in this administration. A few days later, we saw the RMFC coming out to try and straighten out the conversation. So far, so good. Senator, what's it like? Because Nigerians are concerned. Is it actually this? Is it 21 million? Is it 1,063,000? What is really going on with the remuneration?
Well, whoever is elected into the Nigerian National Assembly will receive about 3 types of payment. The first one is the salary. During our time, it was 750,000. That's the 8th Senate. That's the 8th Senate. And then the 9th Senate was about 850,000. And now the 10th Senate, I think, is 1 million. Then the second payment you will receive as a legislator is the running cost of your office. It's also paid directly into your account. During our time, it was 13.5 million. And then I think during the time of the 9th Senate of Ahmed Lawan, it was something within the range of maybe 15. So legislators to embark on capital projects in their own constituency actually is not good for the parliament, because many times you will find out that legislators, senators and reps, are more interested are not interested in participating in debate in the National Assembly. They are more interested in executing all these projects in their constituency, and this has always been a problem. If we want to have a National Assembly that is full of characters, men of honor and integrity, who are not there for money, then we should remove money out of it and allow people to see it as a national service. There is nothing wrong if a legislator is being given allowances for his accommodation, allowances for sitting allowances. It's okay. He was elected to that. But he has become also a governor in his own senatorial district. Then you will find out that you will see that the result is that there will be less activity in the National Assembly and more in terms of going to his constituency to become another executive, which is supposed not to be.
All right. Distinguished Senator, during the 8th Assembly, of which you were part of, you had mentioned that 13 million naira was paid directly into your account as running cost, and currently in this assembly they are being paid 21 million naira. the question is, what is the details of this running cost? What is the 13 million naira as of then and 21 million naira as of now being used for? Is it used to pay your aides or do other official activities? I would like you to give us detailed information of what that amount being paid directly into your account was being made for.
You see, why I and some senators are counting the running costs as part of your own salary is that it's credited directly into your own personal account. Yes, so that's why it has to be qualified. Whatever is sent to your account is totally your own. Whatever title you will attach to it. But actually, there is a breakdown on how that running cost can be used. That running cost should cover your hotel bills to travel, your airline tickets, your newspapers, your data, your so many things I cannot even remember what it is. So it's supposed to cover all those things. It doesn't cover payment of salary of staff because it's a National Assembly Commission. When you are elected into office as a senator or as a member of House of Reps, you are required to submit the list of your staffs. Like a senator, I think it was 5. You have to submit the list of 5 staff, and of which you submit their CV to the National Assembly Service Commission. And then they will be employed for 4 years and they will be paid directly into their account for 4 years. So that money that is being credited to your account as running costs has nothing to do with their own salary.
But in the listing, Senator, we recently saw that I think 120,000 naira was pegged for personal assistance and the likes under the listing that the RMAFC recently gave, an account for their 1,063,000. You, as a senator, paying your personal assistant was part of the voting. So are they trying to mislead Nigerians with the information made available concerning, the take-home pay for senators?
I think the resource mobilization is misinforming the public. And because they are afraid.
What exactly are they afraid of?
Government agencies.
What are they afraid of?
Government agencies, except federal agencies, nobody wants to be in direct confrontation with the National Assembly. Because if you get into problem with National Assembly, nobody is going to save you. Not even the president will save you. So it has been the convention. But what I can tell you in NS is that all staffs of the senatorial staffs, senators of members of House of Reps are paid directly from the National Assembly Service Commissioner. It's not the senators that are putting their hands in their pockets to pay them. And they also have their union, with the Parliamentary Staff Union, of which they are members. So your job ends when your senator tenure ends. That is how it is.
Senator, you made mention of constituency allowance, and I want to ask, as a senator, how did Nigeria get to the level where senators who are supposed to be saddled with the responsibility of making laws, how were they saddled with the responsibility of making constituency allowance? How did we get there? At what, at what assembly did we get to that?
Which of the assemblies? Yeah.
I think this idea of constituency funds started during the time of Obasanjo, when senators were complaining that their constituents have been bombarding them with requests to build hospitals, to build schools, to build roads, and that our constituents don't know the difference between and positions, legislative positions. So what they demanded from governors is also what they are demanding from lawmakers. And many lawmakers have been losing elections because they have no money to build schools and roads. So the Obasanjo administration introduced this idea of constituency funds. But now, the ingredient to it was that you are not going to be given the money directly. For example, if your name is Senator Ian, the moment you get elected, they will tell you at the National Assembly Service Commission that Senator Ian, you have 500 million naira. Where do you want it to be domiciled? Which of the government agency? For example, you say, please keep my money with Federal Ministry of Works. Okay, they will say your money is now with Federal Ministry of Works. Can you please submit the list of work you want us to do in your constituency within that envelope of 500 million naira? Then you will say that I want schools, I want hospitals, I want this. And then they will give the contractor the contract to go to your constituency. And then you will show them the places you want all these things to be cited. And then they will be cited and completed. And then you will go and commission it as part of your own constituency project. So that's virtually how money is spent. So if it was money that is sent directly to the senator's account, then it could have been something else. But now, the question is, who is there to monitor? To monitor whether that job has been done or not. That is where the ICPC come into it. Later, during Buhari regime, they introduced the ICPC to go around the country and see whether and verify projects that are on paper. And then you will be sitting down and you receive a call. We are from the ICPC. We want to go around your constituency and the job which you have done. Then they go around and see it. But unfortunately, the ICPC doesn't have enough manpower to go all over the country looking for residential projects. For example, I come from Kaduna State now. If I said I constructed a hospital in where the bandits are in charge, well, if you think you are ICPC, you can go there and check and verify, and then that is all your business to do. But I think also there are two civil society organizations that are involved in monitoring projects. But unfortunately for these civil society organizations, many of them have to get foreign funding before they go around. And they go around to check whether those jobs were done or not. And apart from that, there is virtually no mechanism for you to know whether the projects that are set in the constituency funds are actually executed or not.
Now, Senator, you have made mention of every senator having to work with agency that will develop their constituency. Now, I would like us to take the conversation further. Let's go down to the north, of which you have always been agitating for. You, I remember during the last hashtag End Bad Governance protest, you have said the reason why the youth really came out and the protest was really affected the north was because there is hunger and there is poverty and there is also uneducation in the north. Now, I would like to ask, we have different senators in the north. What exactly are they doing to make sure that these issues you have mentioned over time is not a trigger to the reason why we had such attack during the hashtag End Bad Governance protest?
Well, End Bad Governance protest in the north is different from the one in the south.
Why so?
From my own little understanding, the people who initiated this end bad governance protest are from southern part of Nigeria. Okay. And they did not make calculations on the likely consequences of it in the north. In most, from what I have seen, in the protest that took place in southern part of Nigeria, there are leaders who led the protesters on the streets. And when protest has leaders, there will be discipline, there will be decorum, and there will be responsibility. But in the north, particularly in Kaduna, in Kano, in Jigawa, in Yobe, in Borno State, there were no leaders. People were simply told to come out to protest. And then the thugs and criminals took charge and started looting and vandalizing public property and unleashing mayhem to a point that they are attacking banks, looting, cutting away ATM machines, going into people's houses and seizing phones. So that is the consequences of calling for a protest without leaders. If you are calling for a protest, you could have made consultations first. Appoint leaders who will take charge. This was what happened in 2012 during the anti-Sunday removal protest. In Kaduna, I was on the front line, me, Balarabe Musa, Colonel Hamid Ali, and many prominent personalities. So nobody could have gone to break anybody's shop. Nobody could have gone to kill anyone or to shoot anyone. But this time around, we just went up to a protest, and that was the result of what we have seen.
Okay. So we have a video that we have shared with Nigerians, this morning on Rise and Shine, where you were speaking directly to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. The fact that he himself has been, a frontier of this kinds of move, in other dispensations. For instance, we saw that before the hashtag End Bad Governance protest, we saw the federal government, state governors, religious leaders try really hard to dissuade Nigerians, from going out for the protest. Something that you said is catchy, and I'd like for you to break down the conversation. You said to us in that speech to the president that a national anthem would not and cannot unite the people. You said to us, that even these protests cannot unite the people. Go into that particular conversation for a little bit and talk to us about some of the things you think Nigeria needs to be doing right now.
Well, what we need to do right now, there are short-term things we need to do, there are long-term things we need to do. The short-term things we need to do at the country is to get our economic priorities right. And because people are suffering. The economic reforms program has come with a lot of consequences. But we have to address the problems of poverty, insecurity in this country. Non-state actors have taken up arms against the state, killing people, kidnapping people, unleashing mayhem against our society. We must address the problems of insecurity in this country, because without security, there will be no development, there will be no country, there will be no democracy, and there will be nothing. The second is the issue of hunger. We have to get our economic priorities right. The gap between the rich and the poor has widened more than any other time than in the history of this country. That has to be addressed. The resources of our country must be used for the common good of our people, for the progress, and for the livelihood of our people. These are the short-term, and these are immediate issues we need to address. On the long term, as a nation, we need to cut the cost of governance. That's why we need restructuring. 36 states with 36 House of Assembly members, with over 500 commissioners and over 10,000 advisors, with bicameral legislature, House of Reps, and the Senate that are doing the same job. I think we have to reach a moment and tell ourselves that very. So these are some issues that we need to tackle as a country on the short term and long term basis.
So talking about cost of governance, that's a strong conversation. This morning alone, we looked at a statement by Ajurin Gelali that said that for the COP29, they're looking to save 10 billion naira if they change some of the strategies. Senator, we're asking, first question, why is it costing us up to 10 billion naira to attend a COP29 conference? Now, this is what he's saying they're going to save. I will link my question to borrowings by state governments. Recently, we know that you were in a fallout with your former state governor in the person of Nasir El-Rufai, calling out the loans that he had taken out in his administration. This is one of the things that is impoverishing state governments, and it is really, really poor. What would you say that state governors do differently?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you loud and clear.
Well, if we want to cut the cost of governance, we shouldn't just do it on the periphery or superficially. It should be structural. Look at the House of Reps and Senate. We're all doing the same job, raising motions, making laws, performing oversight function. The difference between the Senate and the House of Reps is simply that the Senate confirms appointments of Mr. President. Apart from that, there is no difference. Well, it's good to hear the spokesperson of the President that Nigeria has saved over 10 billion. That's a good one. That's a good one, but we need to go deeper than that. But making sure that we have lesser number of ministers, lesser number of advisors, and also less amount of money spent on travels of public office holders. We have asked the masses to make sacrifices for the economic reform of the country. But the elite, the political elite, should also be seen to be making sacrifices. Actually, the National Assembly, the executive arm of the state, should lead by example. If poor people are suffering and are forced to make sacrifices, and those at the upper echelon of society are not making sacrifices, then you know that it's all simply a disaster. So cutting cost of governance is necessary for a developing country like us that is setting itself for a new economic down. That is inevitable. You cannot have legislators buying SUVs at 200 billion naira, and then the masses are told have been enjoyed to make sacrifices. Nobody was going to take it.
Distinguished Senator, you're still on cutting governance. Recently, just in the news this morning, still the spokesperson, the media spokesperson to the president said that the president has spent 2.3 billion naira on travel trips alone this year. And I would like to ask you, do you think this administration has been cutting governance, bearing in mind that the president said he was going to cut his cost of governance on travels? And also, let's not also forget that we have just acquired a new presidential jet in the tune of $100 million. Has he been able to, keep to his word of cutting governance since he got into office? How will you assess that?
You see, cutting the cost of governance, cutting travel cost of president and public office holders, welcome development. And it should be commendable because it has never happened under Buhari administration. But it has to go beyond this level. And the way to cut the cost of governance is to cut it during the drafting of the budget. All this idea of saying we have reduced salary, we have reduced travel cost is not what is the, because once money is budgeted for in the 2020 they have budgeted money for travel, budgeted money for this and that money must be spent because the budget is a law. If you want to cut the cost of governance, you have to cut it at the time which you are drafting a budget. Then it is there that you will say we have cut budget for Azaro Clinic, we have cut for travel expenses of ministers, we have cut budget for legislators. Then that is where the budget cut, genuine budget cut comes from. But if anybody in public office, like the way they do to see people and say, I have forgone my salary. How can you forgo your salary when it has already been budgeted for? So, and there is no mechanism for anybody to verify whether a salary or travel expense of anybody has actually been slashed. So Nigerians should not deceive themselves. You can't cut any budget. You can't cut any cost of governance except when budgets are being. That is one. On the issue of Mr. President's plane, you see, we live in a very fragile country that is replete with history of kind of conspiracy theories. I know that it's painful to know that we are having an economic issues and the president has to buy a new plane. Well, in this country, it's better the president buy a new, that issue is clear, than for us to say he should continue to use a plane that is faulty. And if anything happens, nobody in this country will say it's from God. We know it very well. Nobody. In this country, you hardly die without saying somebody must have killed you. And you know, the life of a president is like any other life, but also a lot of interpretation come into it. So if whether the issue raised against on the older planes are true or false, as long as they have raised an issue that plane has issues, if tomorrow anything wrong happens, they will say, already an alarm was raised, but because there is an agenda for this to happen, some people oppose it, and the whole country will be killed. This is a country that reads meanings to everything. So for that, I have my reservation on that. Yeah.
Okay, so you have your reservations. Distinguished Senator, you were talking about budget. One of the questions that Nigerians are asking is the acquiring of this particular plane for the president, rightly so, like you have established, was it covered in the 2024 budget of the federal government? Because if not, where then have they pulled this amount of money to cover that particular running cost? Would you say that the running cost of the president's office has covered for this particular flight that, plane that they have bought? And then again, the timing seems to be very, very wrong for Nigerians. It's a question of timing. You go from bulletproof vehicles that cost us several millions of dollars, and then you come to the plane that was bought. Senator, something else that is an issue is the fact that the National Assembly says they did not okay the going ahead to buy that particular aircraft for the president.
Well, I am not averse to whether the money has been budgeted or not budgeted. But what I know very well was that during Buhari regime, some aircrafts were bought, not from the budget. I think they are bought from the excess crude account or something like that. Something happened at that time, which nearly earned him an impeachment. Buhari at that time. But it was pat down because it was a matter of national security. But on this case, I don't know how, but I read somewhere where issues have been raised on that. But my own analysis of the matter is that when it comes to the security and safety of the president of a nation, in our country that is divided along ethnic and religious lines, we may say that what was done was wrong or it was not right, but if you look at doing it the other side, it can be worse. So to me, I think the presidency can do more explanation on that, and also the National Assembly. They are constitutionally empowered to ask questions. Thing done that is outside of their ambit, they can raise issues about it.
Okay.
But to me, on the personal level, I just think that any alarm raised as far as the life of a president or leadership is concerned, the president of the country is concerned, knowing who we are as Nigerians, I think should be taken seriously.
All right.
Yes.
So for a moment, let's just talk about insecurity before we wrap up the show this morning, Senator. We also heard a clip where you were calling out, our northern brothers and sisters that have given themselves over to, the rampage of kidnapping and other insecurity-related issues. And then we must say that kidnapping has come on the rise, not just about the north. It's like a decade that is eating out through the nation. What's your thoughts? The federal government continues to tell us, so forest has been overhauled by the Nigerian Air Force, by the Nigerian military, but we do not seem to see commensurate level of drop in insecurity in the country.
Well, to be candid with you, we have been living in this state of insecurity for the last 1 day. Since the Boko Haram in 2009 to date, the North has been a theater of war. The video clip I sent out is appeal to Northern leaders. It's not about blaming President Tinubu, but it is for us, the North, to address the problems of insecurity in our region. Because the killings and kidnapping did not start during Tinubu's administration. One of our own was in power in the person of Buhari. And part of the promises he made was to address the problem of insecurity. And part of the reason people believed him was that he was a former military general and he had the experience and expertise to address this. But for 8 years, he failed to end kidnapping, he failed to end killings, he failed to end abductions of farmers and students in our schools. Now, we have seen this upsurge in these terrorist activities, especially banditry. But we must appreciate the fact that the National Security Advisor and the DSS and the Army and the police are doing a better job than the one we have during Buhari administration.
Okay.
For example, under Buhari administration, Kaduna-Abuja road has recorded daily cases of kidnapping. But now people are driving around freely. And there are these terrorist kingpins that have been unleashing mayhem in Zamfara, Niger, Kaduna, Katsina. And there are many of them that have been taken out. And you can see a serious reduction in bombings. So we can't say that it is all gloom. There are progress that have been made. But the truth of the matter is that up to today, many of our farmers cannot access their farms. Many villages are forced to pay taxes to terrorists. And then many schools in our rural areas have closed down as a result of the activities of these bandits. My appeal to northerners, those of us who are outside, is to sit down and find solutions to our problem, because these bandits are not from Cameroon, they are not from Chad, they are not from Congo. They are also not from southern Nigeria. These are Fulani people. They are our people. We are the same ethnic group. We go to the same mosque. We go to the same wedding ceremony. And they are our own blood. So who is supposed to solve the problem if not ourselves? So we are supposed to find solution to this problem. And northerners must sit down, traditional rulers, the intelligentsia in the north, the business community in the north, the political elites in the north, those holding power and those out of power must come together and address the problems of terrorism in our own region. That was my submission.
Distinguished Senator, you have once been a member of presidential security, a presidential member of national security and civic responsibility. Now you've listed out that the problem is from the north. Now, what will you say is the best approach that could tackle this situation? Because when you look at the north, and you see that there are a lot of military facilities around. You have NDA in Kaduna, you have other training institute in the north. Why are we still having prevailing insecurity? What is the best approach we can, bring an end or probably reduce the level of insecurity in the north?
Well, one thing you should know is that all these bandits are known by the communities which they operate. They are not spirits, and they are also not aliens that came from Mars. These are people among us. So security agencies must recruit people who will give them credible information. And they must spend a lot of money. In as much as the bandits are giving people money to give them information, government must pay the villagers, the peasants, to give them credible information on how to tackle this. Vigilante groups in villages must be organized to confront these bandits. Our security agencies, the army and the police, must use technology to detect and exterminate this. I cannot imagine this country where we have been disturbed with connecting our SIM to NIN or NIN to SIM, and terrorists are still using their phones to record their operation and post it on TikTok, on Facebook, and on Instagram. So where is the NIMSI, this so-called NIMSI? Where are they? Where is all this NIN, connecting NIN to SIM? So these are issues we need to address. Technology, this is the 21st century. You can't do anything in seclusion. Wherever you are, as long as you will put a SIM card on your phone, you can be detected. So we need to deploy technology to be able to address the problems of pervasive insecurity in the whole country, not just in northern Nigeria.
Okay, so Senator, just to wrap this up, if I will remember correctly, at the beginning of the Boko Haram insurrection in the north, one of the excuses that was given is that the north has been sidelined for so long. They do not feel the presence of the federal government of Nigeria. Will you say that this is the case, as it were? The North is recorded for successively sending out leaders, whether it's the president or even the key men, that man the key parastatals in the country. So the excuse of not having government presence in the North being, the reason for this kind of insecurity.
I don't believe in that. The North has been in power for a very long time. So if there is no government presence, it's our own problem. It's not like Akwa Ibom to say nobody from Akwa Ibom has been a president of Nigeria. So you have the right to say that they have not bring federal president. But if you have Buhari, you have Babangida, you have Abacha, you have all these people, and then your problem is not solved. So who are you going to blame? We should blame ourselves. if Buhari has been in power for 8 years and he has not addressed the problems of the North, how can you blame Tinubu for it?
Okay.
All the poverty and insecurity in northern Nigeria did not start in the last 12 or 13 months or 14 months. It's a product of years of neglect, of insensitivity of leaders who come from the same region.
All right.
So Boko Haram is also not an excuse of poverty is also not an excuse for violence. There's poverty in Niger and they are not killing people. There's poverty in Mali, they are not killing people. There's poverty in Mauritania, they are not killing people. Why should you, because you are poor, you should pick arms and start killing poor people like you? Is that a reason for that? There is virtually no that, and that is my position.
Okay, Senator. Are we looking to have you return to the National Assembly anytime soon?
By God's grace, I'm too young to be out of politics.
Okay, you're
expect
too
me
young.
in the National Assembly the next dispensation.
All right.
By God's grace.
Okay, thank you so much, Senator Shehu Sani, for your time this morning. We fully appreciate you.